Hey everybody, John Skiba here, and in this video I'm going to talk about kind of a hot button issue in the debt elimination world, and that is the differences and distinctions between Chapter 7 bankruptcy or dealing with your debt through something like Dave Ramsey's Debt Snowball or his Financial Peace University. Now I come at it from an interesting viewpoint because I am a bankruptcy attorney in the state of Arizona, but I'm also a certified master financial coach through Dave Ramsey's organization. So I'm going to tell you how I reconcile those two beliefs, why I think Dave Ramsey is against bankruptcy, and give you some tips if you're kind of debating between the two. But if this is your first time here to my YouTube channel, please click subscribe. That way you'll be notified each and every week when I help you with new tips on how to deal with your serious debt problems. All right, let me give you a little bit of background about me. Like I said in the intro, I am a bankruptcy attorney in the state of Arizona. I have filed thousands of bankruptcies and helped clients eliminate debt by using that legal process. I'm also certified as a master financial coach through Dave Ramsey's organization. Not only that, and I'm going to do a little bit of name dropping here. When it comes to Dave Ramsey, I'm a big proponent of his plan. I've read Financial Peace. I've used Financial Peace University in my own life. Me and my wife have attended it. Not only that, Dave Ramsey, his organization used to offer credit counseling classes for people who were coming out of bankruptcy. Now, when you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you have to do an online credit counseling before you file your case and after. He didn't do the ones he didn't offer any courses for prior to filing bankruptcy because he felt that there was a conflict there because he's a big proponent of not filing bankruptcy. But he did offer those for people coming out of bankruptcy. They provided some financial information and just kind of budgeting tips. I thought they were great. Actually, I thought they were the best that were out there, and I offered them for my clients. And because I offered them for my clients, once a year, Dave Ramsey would have a gathering in Tennessee at their worldwide headquarters for all these bankruptcy attorneys that used his credit counseling classes as part of their bankruptcy practice. And it was really cool because there wasn't a huge group of us. And so one, we would get to hear from him, and he would teach and talk about his approach to things. And kind of the really cool thing is we would even have dinner at his house. I can say I've sat in Dave Ramsey's house in his kitchen and had dinner with him and talked to him, just kind of his approach on things and how he deals with debt and kind of his perspective. So that's really what I want to talk about is my perspective as someone who helps people file bankruptcy, but is also a big proponent of the way that Dave Ramsey does things. I've taught the Financial Peace University course in person numerous times here in Arizona locally. And like I said, I try to abide by a lot of those principles in my own life with my family. So let me tell you, so let's talk about the differences. I mean, obviously Chapter 7 bankruptcy is a legal proceeding, eliminates credit card debt, just wipes it out completely. It does cause significant damage to your credit. It's going to cause the credit score to drop significantly, but it does rebound relatively, soon. And we can talk about that a little bit later on. Dave Ramsey's approach, he uses what's called the Debt Snowball, where you pay off a portion of your debts, or you're paying all the minimums, and then as you pay off each debt, you start from smallest to largest. You keep adding, so if you pay off the smallest debt, and you're making a minimum payment on that, you then take that minimum payment, add it to the next minimum payment, and as you can see, as you pay off your debts, the monthly payments start getting larger and larger that you're devoting to that, and you're able to eliminate debts that way. Now, Dave Ramsey, if you watch his YouTube channel or if you listen to him on the radio, he is always, always, always against bankruptcy. And a lot of it is because, ironically, he went through bankruptcy, and he often says that the process was just so devastating to him that he doesn't want anybody to go through that. And let me tell you why I think. I don't have any personal knowledge about his bankruptcy, but I do know, because I've heard from him directly, what his situation was like as he was going into bankruptcy. A couple things. One, he filed for bankruptcy because they were coming in to repossess furniture. He said, hey, they were coming in to take my baby's crib. I couldn't do that. I couldn't allow that to happen. I had to file bankruptcy because as soon as you file bankruptcy, an order goes in place and they can't take anything anymore. There's no collections. And so he did that because he filed bankruptcy to stop essentially the repossession of collateral. That's a big reason people file for bankruptcy, is because it stops lawsuits, it stops foreclosures, it stops vehicle repossessions. So sometimes there is things have advanced to to the point where there's a crisis, where you are going to lose something of significant value if you don't take action quickly. The debt snowball in that is more of a long term. It takes most people years to resolve their debts through that process. If you're dealing with a crisis, a legal crisis, bankruptcy is often the only choice, and that's what Dave Ramsey did. I also, I don't dispute that his bankruptcy was probably pretty traumatic for him. The reason why is, my guess is that it was a pretty messy bankruptcy. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So, the more assets you have, the more, higher your income, all that kind of stuff when you go through a bankruptcy, the more that a bankruptcy trustee is going to dig and claw and look to see if there's any assets that can be sold so that those funds can go to your creditors. The typical Chapter 7 bankruptcy is what we call a no-asset bankruptcy. There's not any, sometimes little if any, assets that are liquidated for the benefit of creditors. But if you look at Dave Ramsey, prior to filing bankruptcy, he was a real estate kind of mogul. He had a lot of commercial properties, it sounded like rental properties. Not only that, he derived a lot of income from them. And so banks were liquidating that, and my guess, again, I don't have any personal knowledge of his bankruptcy, is that his bankruptcy would have been an asset bankruptcy, as opposed to a no asset bankruptcy, which most Chapter 7s are, where there was a bankruptcy trustee who was in there liquidating assets. There had been a history of higher income because of his real estate business, and it probably was a pretty involved process. Most bankruptcy cases are not that way, but my guess is that his was. And so while I agree that bankruptcy can be pretty traumatic, most people don't experience what he experienced. The overwhelming majority of people don't experience that. And so that would be my guess as to why he's so anti-bankruptcy. There's a third reason that I think, and what that is, if you go through the Financial Peace University, there's a lot that he teaches beyond just debt elimination. It's just baby step 2. The second class talks about debt elimination, but a lot of it is just learning how to manage money better. I think all of us could use some instruction on that, and that's what I love about his Financial Peace University courses, is that it's not just about getting rid of the debt, but it's how do I budget for the future so I avoid these problems going down the road? How do I save for retirement? How do I life insurance, all that kind of stuff that's so important that we don't know. I have my teenage kids watch these videos just because I think that they're so vital that we learn this information. So those are some of the reasons that I think that, the Dave Ramsey went the route he did and why he takes the position that he did. A lot of those I know because, like I said, I've been at his house. I sat there and had dinner with him. I've heard it out of his own mouth why he went the way he did. But let me tell you why a Chapter 7 bankruptcy at times may be better than the debt snowball. The debt snowball, Financial Peace University type approach that Dave Ramsey takes, the number one reason, like I said, is if you've allowed the debt situation to become to a crisis where you're going to lose your home, you're going to lose your car, they're garnishing your wages, you're stuck in a spot where there's going to be some pretty significant pain if you're going to try to deal with this over several months or even years. And so a bankruptcy can stop that, stop whatever's going to happen, allow you to get rid of the debt, and allow you to move on. And so the crisis issue is the one that I think pushes most people into the bankruptcy situation. My typical advice, though, is even if you're going to have to file for bankruptcy, is to look at things like Dave Ramsey's approach, and even taking that Financial Peace University. It can be taken online now, and the information that you get there is going to help you to rebound from the bankruptcy more quickly. And the truth is, while it stays on your credit for 10 years, bankruptcy, actually your credit score is going to increase within the first 12 to 18 months. I mean, you can buy a home 2 years after a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So I don't ever sugarcoat it. There are consequences to it, but it is something that you can rebound from much more quickly than I think sometimes you are led to believe online. So that's kind of my take on it, that I think that there's a place for bankruptcy. There's a place for the Financial Peace, Dave Ramsey approach to things. It can be very beneficial. Just the principles there, I wholeheartedly believe in them, and that's why I went and got certified through him to be a financial coach, is to provide different options to clients who are dealing with serious debt problems. Bankruptcy is not a good option for some people. I've done videos on that there. Sometimes it's absolutely not a good option, and we avoid it and try to look at some of these other approaches, and one of those really good ones is through the Dave Ramsey program. So hope that helps. If you're kind of weighing, I think, between a Dave Ramsey approach or bankruptcy, I think you need to really look at, is there anything that's causing the problem? Are you getting sued, garnished, foreclosed, repossessed? Those things I tend to lead, you better probably look more in a bankruptcy type thing. If it's something where, and particularly if your debt's fairly minimal, the approach of taking like a debt snowball Financial Peace University might be the better approach. So I hope that helps for you. Check out some of my other videos that I've talked about my experience with Dave Ramsey. I have a lot of them here on my YouTube channel, or the bankruptcy process. And if you're looking at bankruptcy, I do a free consultation here in the state of Arizona. I can only help Arizona people, but I'd be happy to talk to you about it further. Thanks for watching today.